Shy black waitress signs 3 words to a deaf mom. The billionaire freezes mid-sentence. That night, the harbor looked like a bowl of black glass. Boats swayed softly, and the moon drew a thin silver line on the water. Inside the tall restaurant with the blue awning, the light was warm and golden. Chandeliers hung like glowing trees. The walls were mirrors and polished wood. The floors were dark and clean. People in suits whispered over plates that smelled of butter and lemon. It was a rich place where big deals were made and secrets were kept. Her name was Naomi Brooks. She was a shy black waitress who worked the late shift. She wore a neat black dress and white apron. Her hair was pulled back. She had careful eyes. She moved quietly, like a soft song nobody could hear. Naomi never wanted trouble. She wanted to do a good job, go home safe, and pay the bills that came like waves. But on this night, she would be pulled into a storm. On this night, the story would carry the same name as the title printed on the event sheet she found at the host stand. Shy black waitress signs 3 words to a deaf mom. The billionaire freezes mid-sentence. At table 9 sat a man the news loved to follow. Luca Moreau, a young billionaire. Sharp jaw, careful hair, calm smile. He wore a navy suit, no tie, and a watch that looked like liquid light. Across from him sat his mother, Alina Moreau, a woman with gentle eyes and silver hair. She wore a silk scarf, the color of the sea at sunset. Alina was deaf, and her hands moved with grace when she signed. She smiled sweetly at Naomi every time Naomi came by. Naomi liked this table. Luca tipped well. Alina signed thank you with such warmth that Naomi felt seen, even if she was quiet. Naomi had learned sign language years ago to help her neighbor's child. She did not tell many people. It was one of her small secrets. She liked having a way to speak that did not use sound. As Naomi poured water for Alina, she saw it. It was small, almost nothing. A thin streak of light in the big mirror by the bar. It flashed and slid like a tiny fish. Naomi blinked. It flashed again when Luca leaned forward to speak. Naomi's breath stopped. Her heart made one hard knock in her chest. She knew this look. She knew that shine. It was a lens like a camera, lens hidden somewhere where it should not be. In her head, a rush of thoughts. Who put it there? Who were they watching? She looked around. Every table looked normal. Laughter, forks, phones, face down, a candle flickering here, a glass shining there. Then she saw him back table near the corner, a man in a plain gray jacket. He was not eating. He was not talking. He was watching the mirror. When the lens flare slid, his mouth twitched, as if he had caught a fish. Naomi felt a cold wave move under her skin. She could have walked away. It was not her fight. She could have told the manager. She could have called security. But the lens pointed toward table 9. It pointed toward Alina and Luca. Alina was smiling at her. Luca was speaking about something with a calm voice and serious eyes. Naomi's chest hurt. She thought of her little brother, Micah, and how she protected him when they were kids. She thought of the day their father left and how she learned to read the room to keep the peace. She thought of kindness. She thought of danger. And then she decided. Naomi leaned closer to Alina, as if to move the water glass, and let her hands speak 3 small, urgent words in sign: camera, behind, mirror. Alina froze. It was like a stone falling into still water. No sound, but the waves spread. She touched her scarf with a tiny tremble in her fingers and looked at Luca. He saw his mother's face. He saw Naomi's eyes. He saw the fear hidden behind the calm. He stopped mid-sentence, the last word cut in half. The room went quiet in Naomi's head, even though plates still clinked and music still played. She did not want the camera to catch the sign again. She moved a candle, slow and careful, just a few inches. The flame bent. The reflection shifted. The lens flare died. At the back table, the man in the gray jacket flinched. His hand went under his coat. Then he stood so fast, his chair scraped the floor. He bolted toward the side exit. Naomi's heart sprinted. She set down the pitcher and stepped back. Luca stood too. His eyes burned on her face, not cruel, but sharp, like a blade that wanted truth. "Who are you?" his look asked. "How did you see this? Why did you warn us?" "Stay calm," Luca said softly to his mother, shaping the words slow so she could read his lips, then adding a brief sign, "Safe." He nodded to Naomi, a tiny bow of thanks and a question both. Then he tapped his phone once. Two men in dark suits, near the bar security, she had not noticed, moved like shadows after the man in gray. Turning point 1 had arrived. The hidden camera revealed the watcher running, and the bond formed between three strangers by 3 signed words. Naomi tried to go back to work, but her hands shook. She went to the service station behind the tall shelf of wine bottles. There, she pressed her fingers to her eyes. Her mind replayed the flash in the mirror, the way the man ran, the way Luca looked at her like she was a page in a book he needed to read. She did not want attention. She did not want trouble, but trouble was already here. Her boss, Mr. Hanley, walked past with a frown. "What happened at 9?" he asked. "Why did Moreau stand up?" Naomi swallowed. "I think someone was filming them," she said, voice low. "I moved a candle, and the light changed. The man in the corner ran." Mr. Hanley blinked. He was not cruel, but he was tired. "We'll let his people handle it," he said. "Keep your head down. Don't talk about it." He walked away fast. Naomi took a breath and returned to the floor. When she reached table 9 again, Elena touched her wrist. Elena's eyes shimmered. On her napkin, she had written in clear block letters, "Thank you." Naomi nodded and smiled. Luca looked between them like he was measuring something important. He whispered, "Can you stay a moment after your shift?" He signed it too, clumsy but trying. "Please wait." Naomi hesitated. She did not like mixing her life with the lives of powerful men, but she owed Elena nothing and everything at the same time. "Yes," she signed. Outside, the sea wind rose. The boats knocked softly against their ropes. Inside, the room settled again, but the calm felt thin, like a sheet stretched too tight. Security returned 20 minutes later. They did not catch the man. He slipped out into the night like smoke. But they found the device. It was behind the wood trim near the mirror, so small it looked like a dark grain in the wood. Naomi stared at it. Her stomach turned. Who would place it? Why here? Why now? Luca's jaw tightened. He signed to his mother, "We will be careful." Then he looked at Naomi. "I owe you," he said softly. "You saw what my team did not." Naomi shook her head. "I just moved a candle," she said. "You did more than that," he said. "You moved the night." The line hit her like a bell. She looked down, cheeks warm. She did not want to feel anything for him. He was rich. He was powerful. He was a world that had not made room for her before. But the truth hummed in her chest. He had seen her. After close, the restaurant was quiet. Chairs were up on tables. The dishwasher hissed like a tired dragon. Mr. Hanley let Luca and Elena wait at a corner table. Naomi washed her hands and stepped out. She felt small under the chandelier, but stood straight. Elena signed, "You were brave." Naomi signed back, "You were calm." They smiled. Luca folded his hands. "We have enemies," he said, voice low. "Business can be ugly. My company is launching a new medical device soon. Many people want to know our plans, but no one should spy on my mother." "No one," Naomi nodded. "I understand," she said. "My family is. We protect each other too." "Who taught you to sign?" Elena asked with her hands. Naomi brightened. "My old neighbor," she signed. Her son could not hear. "I helped him with homework. He loved space books." Luca watched their hands move like birds that knew the sky. There was softness in his eyes, a softness he kept hidden when lawyers and investors were around. He pulled a card from his pocket and slid it across the table. "If you remember anything more, call me," he said. "I want to keep you safe too." The man saw you move the candle. Naomi looked at the card and felt a sting of fear. The man in gray had seen her. He had run, but he could return. He could follow her home. She did not want to be a loose thread in someone else's plan. "I live with my brother," she said. "He works early mornings. I don't want trouble at our door." "We can send a car home with you tonight," Luca said, "and until this is sorted, we can cover your rides." Naomi's first thought was to say no. Pride rose like a stubborn wall, but she looked at Elena. She thought of Micah. She thought of the lens behind the mirror. "Okay," she said. "Thank you." That was turning point two. The moment help crossed the line into care, and a stranger's danger reached into Naomi's simple life. The car took Naomi home. She lived in a small walk-up above a shop that sold old books and maps. The hallways smelled like paper and dust, and sometimes rain. She made tea in a chipped blue mug and sat by the window. Across the street, the water lay dark and quiet. She texted Micah to check in. He replied with a thumbs up and a joke about her becoming a secret agent. Naomi smiled and set the phone down. But sleep would not come. When she finally drifted off, she dreamed of mirrors that watched and candles that talked. Morning brought gray light and then rain. Naomi put on a hooded coat and took the car the Moros sent. At work, the staff whispered about last night, but no one knew the full truth. Mr. Hanley warned them to keep quiet. The news did not break. Maybe it would never. Maybe the world would keep moving like boats on a gentle tide. At noon, a delivery came, a box of flowers and a small device kit. The flowers were white lilies and blue hydrangeas, the card said, from Elena for brave eyes. The device kit was from Luca, a tiny flashlight, a lens detector, and a note. "If you ever see light that looks wrong, trust your eyes." Naomi felt a warm rush in her chest. Then she felt afraid again. That afternoon, 2 men in suits came in. They were not Luca's security. They had the look of people who smiled with their mouths but not their eyes. They asked for a corner table and ordered coffee and nothing else. One stared at Naomi's hands. The other watched the mirrors. Naomi's skin prickled. She told Mr. Hanley, who shrugged and told her to avoid them. She could not. The restaurant was her ship. She had to sail it. At 4, the power flickered. The chandeliers blinked. Music hit. People laughed at first, then frowned. In the dark stretch of 3 slow seconds, Naomi saw a shadow move near the back trim where the first camera had been. When the lights came back, a busboy named Giulio was picking up dropped forks, and the 2 men in suits were no longer at their table. Naomi's heart thudded. She walked to the mirror like a person walking toward a dog that might bite. She bent and saw a tiny fresh scuff on the wood. She whispered to Elena, who had come early for tea with a friend. Elena's eyes widened. Naomi signed. Again. "Camera." "There." Elena signed. "Careful." Naomi nodded, turned, and reached for the candle. She shifted it, a breath left. The flame winked. There a needle of light, alive again, licking the edge of the frame. Naomi didn't think. She moved. She set a heavy silver water carafe on the ledge so it blocked the angle. The flare died. In the same second, one of the suit men stood up at the bar and began to walk toward her, with a smooth, slow smile. "Problem?" he asked. Naomi held her tray tight. "I'm just doing my job," she said. He leaned close. His breath smelled like mint and smoke. "You did more than your job last night," he said softly, too softly. His eyes were empty of light. "You should let the grown-ups handle grown-up things." Naomi felt the old fire in her spine, the one that kept her standing when life tried to push her head down. She said, "Then act like a grown-up and stop hiding cameras." The man's smile cut off. For a second, he seemed surprised. Then he nodded, as if she had passed a test he did not want her to pass. He turned and left through the same side exit as the gray jacket man. Naomi's hands shook after. She put the tray down. Alina squeezed her shoulder. Luca arrived 10 minutes later, eyes sharp with worry and anger. He spoke to security. He spoke to Mr. Hanley. He spoke to Naomi last, voice soft again. They came back, he said. Yes, Naomi breathed. They tested us. And you won, he said. I don't want a war in my workplace, Naomi said. Neither do I, he said. I will move this fight to my ground. That promise carried us to turning point 3. The trap. Luca rented a private room for a charity tasting the next night. Only 15 guests. Names carefully chosen. Naomi would work the room, but this time she would wear a small pin that looked like a flower. It had a camera inside, one that sent video to a van outside. The mirrors had been swept. The room had been mapped. Candles were placed to make flares obvious. The bait was gossip of a new partnership and a displayed folder with harmless fake plans. The hook was a rumor that someone on Luca's team was careless. Naomi did not like being bait, but she said yes because the anger in her had grown from a spark to a steady, honest flame. It was not just for Luca. It was for Alina, for Giulio, for everyone who deserved to eat dinner without being watched by a hidden eye. The night was thick with fog. The harbor horns moaned softly like old animals. Inside the private room, the air smelled like lemon and thyme. Glass sang. Laughter rolled. Behind the glass, in the van, 2 techs watched. Luca watched too, jaw tight. Alina sat at a safe table with a friend and signed little jokes to put Naomi at ease when she passed. Then they came. 2 women in bright dresses, a man with careful hair, another with a scar by his ear, and finally, the gray jacket man, cleaned up in a new blazer. He did not look at Naomi. That told her he had learned one thing, not to look at the person who worries him. Naomi moved like wind and grass. She poured wine. She smiled. Her heart beat hard, but her hands were steady. On the sideboard lay the fake folder, the one with plans and dates that meant nothing real. The scarier man stood by it. He glanced at Naomi. He touched the folder like it was a sleeping cat he hoped would not bite. It happened fast. The lights flickered, once engineered this time. The scarier man's hand slid. A tiny cam pin dropped from his sleeve. It bounced on the folder's edge. Naomi did not look down. She reached across to tidy a spoon and let her sleeve knock the cam into her palm. She closed her hand around it and kept moving. In the van, the tech saw another hand slip, a listening dot under the sideboard lip. The gray jacket man. Got him, one tech whispered. Luca's shoulders loosened. Then it all broke open. A voice from the hallway yelled, "Kitchen fire!" And the door swung. People turned. The gray jacket man reached to yank the listening dot back. Naomi stepped between him and the sideboard like a dancer, changing places on a stage. He paused, close enough that she smelled his cologne. "You, again," he said softly. "Me, again," she said. "You should keep your eyes on your tray," he said. "I am," she said. "You are what I'm serving?" He blinked. It threw him off. He did not see Luca's 2 security guards slip behind him. He did not see the second camera above the doorway. He did not hear Elena's fingers tap the table twice, their silent family signal for danger. "Sir," one guard said politely, "we'd like to have a word." The gray jacket man smiled his thin smile. "Of course," he said. He tried to walk. The guard's hand rested on his arm, firm but polite. The scarier man took 1 step to the side. The women in bright dresses laughed too hard at something no one had said. The careful hairmen stared at the floor. Outside, police cars rolled in on soft tires. Inside, the gray jacket man realized the room had been built like a net. He pulled his arm hard. He looked at Naomi with a flash of anger and respect, The kind of look a thief gives a lock that will not open. He tried the side exit again. It did not open. The guard's polite hand became a steel clamp. And that was the climax. The room bright, the faces alert, the trap closed. The man who had watched others now watched by everyone. The rest was not pretty, but it was plain. Police took statements. The devices were collected. The gray jacket man had a false name, a burner phone, and a wallet with too many business cards. The Scaria man asked for a lawyer. The women in bright dresses cried. The careful hairman said he was only here for the food. The folder sat quiet on the sideboard, its fake pages crisp, its lie pure and clean like a decoy duck. When the room emptied, Naomi stood by the window. The fog had thinned. The moon was a pale coin in the sky. She felt tired in her bones. She felt older and stronger both. Luca came to her with a careful smile. "You are not just brave," he said. "You are careful. You are good." Naomi looked at Alina. Alina signed. "You saved me twice." Naomi shook her head, eyes wet. "You saved me too," she signed back. "You made me feel seen." They sat for a while. Luca told Naomi about the device his company was making. It helped deaf people feel music through skin, with tiny pulses and lights. Alina touched the prototype on her wrist and smiled. Naomi's eyes filled. She thought of her neighbor's boy and his love for stars. She thought of sound turning into light and fear turning into courage. "Why did you work here?" Luca asked softly after a time. Naomi laughed a little. "Bills," she said, "and I like watching people. But I want school again. I want to study signals, sightlines, the way rooms talk to us." "You would be good at that," he said. "If you want, I can help, not as payment, but as a path. A grant, a mentor, a friend." Naomi felt the old wall of pride rise. But this time, it did not block her view. It simply asked one question. "Is it right?" She looked at Alina. Alina signed. "Take help when help is clean." Naomi took a breath. She nodded. Weeks passed. The restaurant felt lighter. Mr. Hanley put a small sign near the host stand. "No recordings. Respect privacy." Regulars laughed and said, "Only here," but they obeyed. The harbor moved from fog to sun and back again. Naomi took 2 evening classes at the community college, one in optics, one in human behavior. She loved them. She stayed up late reading. She drew the restaurant floor from memory and marked where light changed and sound pooled. She began to see the world as a map of paths and signals, not just a blur of faces and plates. Luca called sometimes, not about trouble, just to ask how school was. Alina sent small notes in tidy block letters. "Saw a child dance to a violin today. Thought of you." Naomi kept the notes in a book. On hard days, she read them like prayers. One day, the gray jacket man's real name showed up in a news story. He worked for a dirty security firm that stole secrets for rich clients with thin souls. There was a trial. Naomi was asked to speak. She dressed in a plain blue dress and said, in simple words, that spying on a deaf mother at dinner was wrong. The courtroom was quiet. The judge nodded. Justice, slow but steady, moved its feet. In the last scene of this long night to morning story, Naomi walked by the water before her shift. The air was clean. A small boy on the pier wore headphones and smiled as he watched the waves. His mother waved at Naomi. Naomi waved back. A gull cried. Somewhere in the city, a bell rang noon. Naomi touched the little lens detector on her keychain and put it back in her pocket, not because she was afraid, but because she was ready. She entered the restaurant, now bright with day. Alina sat by the window with her tea. Luca stood by the bar, jacket off, sleeves rolled. They looked up and smiled. Naomi smiled too. She tied her apron and stepped into the light, quiet but steady. the kind of steady that can move a candle and change a night. And if anyone asked her what happened here, she would tell them the truth in simple lines. A shy waitress saw what others missed. She signed 3 words to a deaf mom. A billionaire froze, then listened. Together, they stopped the dark. Then they learned to keep the light. That is why, when I write the last line for this tale, I will write its name once more, the way you asked, like a promise and a bow wrapped together. Shy black waitress signs 3 words to a deaf mom. The billionaire freezes mid-sentence.